And we're live. Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday night. I don't remember what day it was. It's normal for me lately. Thank you for being here, for watching. If you're watching down the road, I, of course, am Cynthia from Purgatory Paranormal. And I have a wonderful guest with me tonight. Mr. Bruce Halliday is back today to talk to us about his new book, When Spirits Speak. So let me just bring Bruce up so you can see him better. And there he is, Bruce. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Hey, Cynthia, it's my pleasure. Hello,
Good to have
everybody.
you back. Good to have you back. Hello, everybody in chat. Thank you for being here. So Bruce has written a book. Now, Bruce is an OG paranormal investigator. He's been
Yeah,
around
very
since the
OG.
beginning. Old guard, old guard. He's been around since the beginning of ITC, and I'm going to let him tell you about that. But I can't wait to ask him about his book, which I have read. And Bruce, you can see I have dog-eared so much of this book.
That's what I like
Um,
to see.
to
How'd you
go
find? Did
back
you
and
find
reference.
it interesting?
I did. I found it very interesting. It's really informative. And I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions about different parts of it.
Okay.
But the book, everybody, the link is in the description. It is available on Amazon and it appears on Audible as well through Amazon. I'm not really up on how
I
Audible
don't think the
works.
audio book is out yet, but it's on
Okay.
Kindle and paperback.
Okay, so it's on Kindle and paperback. Okay, because I noticed that it said Audible, but it said zero next to it. So okay,
Yeah.
again, I
I
don't.
think that the publisher, they wait for a certain amount of time or whatever before they put it on audio book,
Okay,
so.
but you have to record it, don't you? Or you have to have
Well, I asked
somebody.
them, do you want me to narrate? Do you want me to record? They said, no, no, that's all right. We don't need to. I said,
No,
okay.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh no. Well, though, so
They said, we don't want it
someone
to
has to
sound like The
record.
Sopranos.
But that's you. That's you.
Yeah,
That's
right.
you.
Yeah.
Hi, Tangi, Dory, Christina. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Yeah, so I understand that. So that'll probably take a little while. I know my husband really likes books, not on tape anymore, of course. I'm just showing my age, but recorded books.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of people
Yeah,
like that.
nobody
So
wants to read anymore. You know what I mean?
you know what? I am old school. I want to feel a book in my hand. In fact, if I ever finish the two that I'm writing right now, one is my paranormal story about me and the other one is a piece of fiction. I want to have that George McFly moment. I want to have the
Yeah,
box
right.
arrive
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah,
I need that George McFly moment.
yeah.
But I wanted to ask you some questions about because I really did enjoy the book. It's really informative. Okay. And I love your backstory. So I
Mm.
know that we want people to read the book and you can share as much of it as you want to. But what prompted you after all these years of being involved in the paranormal and paranormal research? What prompted you to write the book?
Well, it was something that was always in the back of my mind. It's something that I always wanted to do. Um, I think the real kicker, what gave me the kick in the pants to actually sit down and start writing was that, I stepped back and I took stock of what was going on in ITC out there today, and
Mm-hmm.
the ton of misinformation and not, I won't say untrustworthy, but unknowledgeable information that's floating around, and everybody just, I mean, nobody. I, I, I hate to,
I know what you're saying, and I'm
you know
definitely going
what I
to
mean.
ask you about that in a little bit.
I don't want to sound like that, somebody that's looking down on anybody or trying
Right. Of
to
course not.
chastise anybody or say anybody's not doing the right thing or whatever. But I mean, I got close to 2 decades working with a ghost box. I work with a ghost box every single day. So, I had this cornucopia of knowledge and experience and
Mhm.
17 plus years of constant research and theories and
Right.
being involved in the field and with other learned researchers and investigators and technology box builders and stuff like that,
Right.
you know.
Well, I was gonna
And
ask you about that as well. I mean, you were there at the
yeah, the
beginning
very
of ITC. Now, ITC is instrumental
instrumental
transcommunication,
transcommunication, right? That's it.
basically trying to communicate with
Using a using an electronic device. Using
electronic devices, correct.
any electronic device.
But you when you started out, it didn't this didn't even exist yet. Now, I know
No,
that if you go back to Rodave and if you go back to the Spiricom, etc., um, but in somebody actually doing this and sharing it with other people, and it was also
right,
the internet was just blooming. You were there right at the beginning with some of the
right,
better known box builders. What was
right.
that like?
Well, actually, when I discovered, I was a serious traditional EVP researcher and practitioner.
Which means what? Which means you used what?
EVP is electronic voice phenomena. It's
Mhm.
the theory behind it is um, you can get communication and capture spirit voices using just a recorder. The
Okay.
spirit, in theory, the spirit uses ambient energy and
Mhm.
sound that's in proximity to the recording device and
Right.
manipulates it in order to place a message or whatever communication they want to send directly onto the recording medium. Back then, we
Like
didn't
a
have
digital recorder? A
right.
digital
We didn't even
recorder?
have digital recorders
Yeah.
when back then we had cassette tapes.
Oh, you had
So
cassettes. I was gonna say, did you have reel to reel? You see this reel to reel I have behind me
well,
from
I
about
actually had a reel
1960.
to reel. I used to do most of my EVP work, and when I did controlled EVP work, that wasn't in the field. When it was in a controlled environment, I always
Okay.
used reel to reel because reel to reel tape was much better quality than just regular cassette tape. So it would actually
Mhm.
pick up more of the nuances of the sound and
Okay.
you would actually glean more communication from a reel to reel recorder than a tape recorder. But that's what
Really?
traditional EVP. Then, Frank Sumption, of course, in 2002, he invented the first Ghost Box. And, no, nobody knew about it. There was nobody knew what a Ghost Box was. Frank had
Mhm.
started a Yahoo group, and there was a Yahoo group for EVP and stuff like that. Frank belonged to that. He branched off when he made the Ghost Box, started his own Yahoo group, which at the time were just um, they were just tech forums. Like you would type. There was no, there was nothing like Facebook or anything,
Oh,
or
yeah.
Twitter
I
or anything like
remember.
that. Yeah, we just
Just
typing.
words.
Right.
Just
So
words.
I had gotten contacted by another individual in the paranormal, somebody that lived, close by. And, they
Mhm.
asked me, do you know anything about a device called the Ghost Box? And I said, nah, I never heard of it, because Frank only had one bite, just the box he invented. That was it, the
Mhm.
original.
Something he
And,
built from scratch, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you
he
had
had,
it hadn't been figured out yet how to hack a radio.
oh,
He
no, no,
actually
this
built
was
it from
long, this
scratch.
was a couple of years before hack radios came out.
Okay. So
And I went and joined the Yahoo group just to get some information on it to see what it was all about. And because Frank had only, I think at the time I joined the Yahoo group, he only had built maybe 2 or 3 ghost boxes at
mhm.
that time. There was only two
Mhm.
or three ghost boxes in existence in the world.
Right.
So, I stayed on the group. I lurked on the group for a while and, reading the posts and seeing what was going on and stuff like that. And then finally, I decided to write to the group and I asked, how can, somebody get involved with it, in ghost box communication? I want to try this out. How do I get a ghost box? And they said, no,
Mhm.
you don't, there's no ghost box to be
You
had.
don't.
Right. So I said, well, that's good. You have a method here of, spirit communication and nobody can do it. That's great.
Oh,
So what are we wasting our time for? So the
well.
woman at the time, her name escapes me at this moment, but she was a moderator for Frank on the group.
Okay.
And she said, well, you can do a manual ghost box session. So I said, okay, what is that? So she explained it. All you need is a regular dial radio with the tuning knob. She said you
Mhm.
turn the radio on. She said you start asking questions and turn the dial back and forth as fast as you can from one end of the dial to the other, and listen for any legible communication.
Okay.
So I said, okay, fine. Matter of fact, I had a boom box, right? With
Of
double
course, we
cassette
all have.
recording in it, the big boom boxes. So I got
Yes.
this thing out, I plugged it in, and I didn't even record this session. I wasn't even, I had no idea what was going to. In
Yeah.
my mind at the time, it was all bunk anyway. You know what I mean? I said to myself, that could just broken up radio sound. How could
Right.
they possibly? We had no idea what it was about. So
But at
I
this
did.
point, you had already had an experience with EVPs on tape.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh
You
yeah, for
had.
years.
Okay.
Yeah, for years. Yeah, and
Okay.
elaborate EVPs. I mean, Class A
Mm,
EVPs, A plus EVPs. I mean, I really,
right.
I have been doing, research experiments with flooding the room where the EVP session was being done with electromagnetic energy. I
Okay.
At one point I buried a tape recorder in a shoebox 3 feet under the ground and covered it with dirt to
While it
see
was running.
right and let it run for 3 hours and see if it would get any. And I
Oh
actually got
my.
EVP on
Oh
that
my
that
goodness.
experiment. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
There
my
was a lot of
goodness.
stuff back then, but
Mm,
as far as the manual ghost box session, I sat down, I turned the radio on, I started to turn the dial, and I asked a basic question, is there any spirits there that want to speak to me today? And I'm turning the dial back and forth. And clear as a bell, loud and clear, yes, Bruce, came through. Now, I had been in the paranormal for about 3 or 4 years at that point. I mean, I
mhm.
pretty much, I jumped out of the chair and literally ran out of the room because it was so shocking to me
Wow.
that I
Wow.
never expected to hear, and it came through above the noise of me sweeping back and forth of the dial.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so really it shook me up a little bit. You know what I mean? So
It does shake you up when you hear your name called. The only thing I
yeah,
think
and
that shakes me
now,
up
I mean,
more is when I hear them say something to me in my own voice, but that's a
right?
whole
Oh
other
yeah, yeah, yeah,
story.
yeah.
That's a
So now
whole other story we can talk about.
I take, I gathered my composure and I went back into the room and I sat down and I started to really take it a little bit more seriously and focus on what I was doing. And I started to
Mhm.
get, the yes and no responses, a few names came through and,
Okay.
that was it. From that minute on, I was hooked. That was it. So,
That's
but there was no
awesome.
Frank's boxes to be had,
Yeah,
so we had to wait
but
till Joe.
you have a Frank's box, don't you?
Yes. I
You
had to
still
wait.
have
Well, actually, I don't have a Frank's box anymore.
No?
Frank had given me he had gifted me two boxes, right?
Oh my.
The first box, I was a chump, let's say,
Oh
and
no.
someone that I was close friends with uh, asked if they could use it, and I
Hmm.
lent it to them, and they disappeared, and I never got it back, and that was the end of my first Ghost Frank's box. Then
Oh,
Frank had sent me a second box, and I was never. Frank Sumption was a great guy. I mean, he was a little eccentric. He was a good guy. We were very good friends. We knew each other. We talked on the phone. We wrote each other back and forth. I mean, we were, we had our
yeah.
spats and this and
Mhm.
that back and forth. But he, as far as a Frank's box went, I never really was a big fan of the Frank's box because of the way it sounded. Not
Oh,
for any
okay.
other reason, that not because it didn't facilitate communication or it didn't work or was poorly made or whatever. I just
Mhm.
didn't like the sound of it. And the first mechanical ghost box sessions that I did with an actual ghost box was
Mhm.
with a Frank's box. We didn't know anything else, you know.
We have a
Then
question for
Joe
you here.
Ciari comes along
They wanna know if you still do a session every day.
every single day.
Every single and you record them now, correct?
Oh no, I mean I recorded them from the day after that first manual session.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You weren't gonna miss another
No,
one.
that's one thing I want to stress to anybody that's listening out there that's just getting started or is into ghost box communication, whether they do it in their investigations or in whatever forum. Never turn on a ghost box without turning on a recorder. because I'm doing this just about as long, if not longer, than any other person on the planet. And my ear is trained to hear ghost box communication, like a piano tuner is trained to hear the tone of a piano.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only capable of hearing maybe 25, maybe on a great day, 30% of the communication that's actually delivered, hearing it in
What
real time.
in real time while it's going
Right.
on?
The
Okay.
rest is discovered in review of the session recording.
Very
So
important.
never
Yeah.
turn a ghost box because you're missing 75% of the communication that's sent. And not only is that shame on you for missing it, but it's shame on you for disrespecting the entities that are taking the time and effort to send the communication that's never being heard. You know what I mean? So never turn on a ghost box without a recorder.
And
Anyway,
and
what
and
about?
you it sounds like you probably agree with my opinion is that it's very difficult for them. It isn't an easy thing. It isn't
Oh
an
no,
easy
it's not.
thing.
I mean,
It's
and
gotta be.
over the years, like, see, in my book, all the things that I state in my book, all the theories that I formulated over the years and publicized, um, they're based on experience that I've had, information that I've gleaned from spirits and spirit technicians on the other side. Not,
And we're
it's
gonna
not.
ask you about that in a minute too, what a spirit technician is, and I know that you have a lot of insight on that. What is your so of all these things that we've just talked about, um, and what is your preferred method of ITC to this day?
Ghost box
The
communication,
radio, the automatic scanning radio.
traditional ghost box communication.
Still doing it manually?
No, 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 no.
Not
I
doing it
use I
manually
use an
anymore.
automated ghost box, but it's
Okay.
a custom
Okay.
it's a custom ghost box. I
Right.
actually have two or three boxes from different builders. It's an automated ghost box. It sweeps the band automatically, but
Mhm.
when I say traditional sweeping ghost box, I mean no echo, no reverb, no reverse speech, no
Mhm.
reverse sweep, no random sweep. It's just a linear sweeping.
Mhm.
Linear means that it sweeps from the beginning of the dial to the end and then starts at the beginning again. It keeps going
Right.
around and around.
Right.
I use
Right.
a linear sweeping traditional ghost box with only sweep speed adjustment, which means that
Okay.
I can adjust the way how fast or slow the box sweeps the radio band. And you need that because in different situations, you have to change the sweep speed on the fly during a session. Like if you're getting a lot of interference in your signal, and you're getting
Mhm.
a lot of
Mhm.
white
Right.
noise, a lot of static, a lot of popping, a lot of and or if you're picking up a signal that's delivering a lot of, if you have less radio stations that you're picking up,
Mm.
and the radio stations are bleeding over into the next station, you can get a lot
Right.
of false positives, a lot of stray radio signal words that are coming in full words. So
Right.
you would
Right.
tend to speed up your sweep at that point to break down those full words. You know what I mean? So you
Correct.
need sweep speed, but to me, that's the only feature I use. Anything I can't. I mean, I'm not like, again. I don't want to knock anybody. Everybody has their own thing, but
Right.
why add echo and reverb to a ghost box or to any device that is supposed to deliver uh, words communication in human
Right.
speech?
I
You know
think
what I
some
mean?
of the
We don't
people
speak in
that
echo.
do it live, like, go to locations and stream it live, add the echo so that they don't miss it. In other words, you know how quickly a message can go by, and then the echo will repeat it a couple of times so that they're trying to catch more in real time for their viewers as opposed to letting it go by and not catching as much. I mean, I don't know if it, I think honestly it has something to do with paranormal entertainment, which was
Right.
something I was also
Well,
going to ask you what you think of paranormal entertainment. It's a
the
nice way to put it,
let
but
me just tell you. Let me just answer you about that echo and reverb.
mm,
Any um, speech altering feature, an audio filter, the addition of echo, reverb, anything like that, will actually distort human speech. So
Sure.
it's hard enough for us to hear. Actually, us as
Right.
human beings, our brains are wired to listen to normal human speech.
Right.
You know what I mean? So your chances of catching communication that comes through quickly in normal human speech is better than if a piece of communication came through and you didn't recognize it because the echo or reverb distorted it. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Now,
So
what about slowing down? Like if you record a whole bunch of messages, but you can't understand them, some people will slow it down,
yeah, I
and
slowed
then
down.
and then they'll catch them.
Yeah, I can. I sometimes when I go over a ghost box session, if it was a rapid signal and I had to
Mm,
sweep speed, at a fast pace,
right.
and the words of communication are really coming through rapidly. I mean,
Right.
if I recognize it to be a piece of communication, but I can't really understand it, I'll
Okay.
slow it down. But I never slowed down the playback speed of any ghost box recording more than 10%.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
anything more than that will tend to distort the original audio.
Okay.
So, I mean, if
I'm
people are
fortunate.
interested,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If people are
It's
interested,
okay.
I mean, if you go to my YouTube channel or my Facebook page or my Facebook group, I actually have a video that's posted on all three formats, um, explaining step by step how I edit a ghost box recording, and
And
it's
I'm not sure. I have to put all your links. I'm not sure if I put all of Bruce's links in the description, but he does have a YouTube channel, Halliday
yeah,
Paranormal,
Halliday Paranormal,
Halliday,
right?
and you have a Facebook page as well.
Right. Bruce
Okay.
Halliday is the Facebook page, and the group is Live Spirit Ghost Box Communication
Okay, well, I'll get that
Facebook
link
group.
in the description after if I haven't already gotten it. I'm not sure if I did. I tried, and then I've got the link
You're
for
slacking.
the
You're
book.
slacking, Cynthia.
I know, I'm falling apart. This is what the book looks like. Okay, so definitely you wanna get it. It's great. I really enjoyed your your backstory. When
You know what's
how
good
you
about the book?
started. It was great.
Thank you. Not to interrupt you, but you know what's good about that? I feel, I maybe have a biased opinion, but I feel, see, I wanted the book to be like a comprehensive guide to ghost
Mhm.
box communication. And it's not a book that you just have to read and put down. I mean, you can take this book and put it into your field kit if you're an investigator or if you're
Mhm.
doing ghost box communication. You'll have opportunities constantly to refer back to the book for
Yeah,
information
it
and
is.
insight.
It's very informational, you guys. It's definitely something for you to check out. Now, I mean, would you say this is a good book for beginners? Would you say this is a good book
Yeah,
for
it's
somebody
good.
that's
It's good anywhere it's good from the first person that never did a ghost box session yet to the
Mhm.
to the seasoned professional field investigator, that's out there that's doing it for years. It
Right.
has something for everybody. Like I said, it's a reference guide, really. I mean, you can go back to it time and time and time again. Like if you're in a certain situation or you got a certain type of communication or you're wondering about a certain thing that you got through the ghost box, you can refer back to the book and you'll find somewhere in that book that'll give you an explanation or a theory on what experience you had with your ghost
Yeah.
box.
Yeah, I think it's a good reference too for you. It's talking about and I'm just noting some of the chapter names. What's better, AM or FM band for live spirits, ghost box communication, the difference between live and stray broadcast signal. It's very informative. And then I know you've got in here how to perform a basic live spirit ghost box session for beginners, which
Right,
is awesome. I was saying, what do you recommend somebody who wants to do this for the very first time? I remember when I started doing it, and I've had paranormal experiences since I was 5 years old, but
right,
I only somehow discovered YouTube around 2015 or 16.
right.
I'm busy, but I'm a busy person, but I discovered it and I was like, wow, these are the people. These people supposedly are having similar experiences to me, and yet they're able to quantify it and share them with other people, something I had never been able to do in my entire life. And
Right.
so I started with an SB7. If you don't know what an SB7 is, it's pretty basic um, ghost box, little ghost
Yeah.
box that you can buy, and
It's a basic traditional sweeping ghost box,
it scans the radio frequencies, and that's basically,
which
and
is
it
all a
also
ghost box really needs to do. You know what I
right,
mean?
and it has sweep you
Adjustment.
you can change the speed of the sweep.
Yeah, speed adjustment. Right.
Um,
That's all you
right.
need.
So you think that's a good thing for people to start with, is that
Well,
SB7?
An SB7 is a good starter ghost box. Yeah. If you're
Okay.
just starting out, I mean, I would stay away from the apps. I mean, I hate to say that because I know there's a lot of people out there that swear by ghost box apps, but
This is a PSB7 for anybody who's wondering.
they also have an upgrade to that, the SB11, which has
The
a
S
little bit more bells and whistles. But when you're
It's
first
very
starting
noisy.
out,
It's very noisy, but yes.
yeah. Well, you see, if I'm not mistaken, which I don't think I am, the builder of those boxes. Hi, Kenneth, how you doing, buddy? Um, he
Hello,
uses
Haunted Trucking.
he actually uses what they call an Arduino chip.
Oh, the
It
Arduino. Yeah, the
right.
Arduino.
It's and which is inherently noisy. It,
Mm.
it has actually interrupts the sweep of the ghost box. You know what I mean?
Ah,
So I mean, the
okay.
SB7 is a good starter box. If as you go along, you're going to want to get into the better boxes like that are built by some of the more reputable builders,
Right,
like
right.
Austin Maynard or KD Stafford. I
Yeah.
mean, these guys are top builders in the
Nice.
field, and
Yeah.
they
Okay.
put out some tremendous ghost boxes. Uh, but if you're first starting out, don't use a phone app. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Because phone apps are more or less made for entertainment purposes. They're not
Right.
serious. You're not going to get, and plus, apps are based on pre-recorded, preloaded audio files.
Right.
They're not bringing in live. I mean, I think there's a couple of them that actually tap into a live signal,
There
but
are. There are there's definitely one that runs through internet radio stations
right,
that I have used. I have tried. I mean, Ray and I did a video where we tested 10 different apps, and that one I do like because it's actually doing what we normally do. It's just running through radio stations
right,
I normally wouldn't have access to, and they're still
right,
radio
right.
stations, so you don't know what you're going to get.
Well,
And
it's
I
not
understand what
all
you're
of them.
saying.
You don't want people that are just getting started that really don't know anything about it.
Right.
They're not going to know what to look for. They're not going to know
Right.
what type of app to look for. They're going to download the first free app that comes up on their phone, and they're not going to get
Right.
anything. You know what I mean?
Well,
So,
everybody has a phone, but they are going to get something. They're going to think it's something,
right.
but it's not,
But
because
but
it's all
on the other side of that coin, any electronic device that facilitates sound can
Mhm.
be used to receive communication. So even with the pre-recorded audio in one of
Mhm.
those phone apps, a
Mhm.
spirit can, in theory, actually use that pre-recorded sound to send legitimate communication. It's not
Yeah,
impossible.
true, but I mean, the way that you would really know that it was legitimate is only if you knew what the recorded banks were and you got something that was outside of them. And of course, you
Well,
don't know what they are,
this is
you
what
know.
I tell people that are just starting out, and people that ask me. I get this question all the time. Okay, how do I know that it's legitimate live spirit communication? That it's legitimately spirit communication.
Right.
The communication has to be relevant and validating in order for you to establish that it is actual communication. It can never be said as a fact. We can't state any of this as a fact.
Right. It's all theory.
But if you ask a question, say, um, can you tell me my full name? Okay. And you get a response of Bruce Halliday, which I've gotten many times. actually not too long ago, I got a communication where an entity actually called me by my full name, first, middle, and last.
Oh,
So
okay.
what the odds of this is how I explain it to people. The odds
Yeah.
of your name, just your name, your first name, say Cynthia, right?
Yes.
Coming through on a broadcast radio station at the moment that you're doing that ghost box session and escape being broken down by the sweep and
Mhm.
delivered in a way where you heard it live
Right.
is at the odds are astronomical. I mean,
Right.
it's off the charts that that would happen. So, I mean, me as a researcher for all these years, I ask questions like I do experiments. I do research experiments. I don't ask
Mhm.
too many basic questions anymore. Like my name comes through. My spirit technicians address me by name throughout the whole session.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
not like that's old hat. I don't even listen to that anymore. You know,
Now,
like that.
tell people what a spirit technician is. And I know you talk about this in a chapter and we've in the book and we've talked about this before, but
Mhm.
explain what a spirit technician is and how you figured out what a spirit technician is.
Okay. Didn't you, by the way, didn't you do a ghost box session after that show we did, and they told you asked about spirit technicians, and you said ask Bruce?
They said, ask Bruce. They said,
Yeah,
told me that
right.
Bruce could tell me.
Bruce can tell you, right? Yeah, I
I said,
still have
Bruce could
that,
tell me.
by the way.
Yes.
Spirit technicians. This started way back in the beginning, like at the very beginning of myself and another individual. We actually, when we started to work with the ghost box, there was nobody. There was a couple of other people working with ghost boxes, but they were doing events and going to haunted locations with them where people were paying to see them do a ghost box session or whatever. There was no
Mhm.
serious research or any research at the time being done. So
Okay.
myself and this other individual, we began to do actual research with the ghost
Mhm.
box to see
Okay.
to get the who, what, where, when, and how this was actually working, and publicly posting our
Mhm.
evidence and audio files and explanations and theories, whatever, what have you. Well, that was
Mhm.
mostly on my end. I mean, I actually published all the theories. I would come up with explanations that were feasible, formulated theory, and then make sure that it was documented, publicized, so that other people would be able to take advantage of it. You know what I mean?
Let me
So
break in for 1 second.
yeah,
Guys,
go ahead.
I'm starring your questions, and I'm gonna ask Bruce as soon as he's done explaining about the spirit technician. So if you have a question, put it in chat, and then I'm gonna ask him the questions as soon as he's done. I'm sorry, Bruce. Go ahead, keep going. And hi,
So
Andrew.
back at those days, in the early early days of ghost box communication, um, I started to notice that the same entities were coming through in every session,
Okay.
and the names they were giving their names multiple times throughout the session, and there was one male entity named Mike and a female entity named Lisa, and uh, after a few sessions, I decided to ask them about themselves. Like, why are you constantly coming through? Why are you at every session? Are
Mhm.
you have a connection to me? Is there a connection? Did I know you? Or is there a
Right.
family connection or something like that? And no, they explained. Now, over the course of many sessions following, I
Mhm.
got the explanation piece by piece of who they were and what they were doing. A technician is a spirit entity on the spirit side that works with us to help facilitate the communication. They have so many jobs. They have so many functions when it comes to helping us um, do ghost box communication. If you ask for a certain entity, a specific entity by name, they
Mhm.
can reach out, locate that entity, bring them forward to communicate if it's possible.
Sometimes, right.
They're gatekeepers. They protect the
Okay.
ghost box opens through the years and through my research. I've discovered that um, the energy, the communication is actually facilitated through a mutual exchange of energy, our physical energy and the spiritual energy from the other side. It's like a conduit. Without that exchange of energy, it wouldn't be possible. So,
It's like a portal, like
right,
you're
in order for that
opening a portal.
entity and for
Okay.
that energy to be exchanged, there has to be an open portal. And every ghost box that's put into operation opens that portal. Now, part of a technician's job is to make sure that, to the best of their ability, that no entities cross through that portal into our physical world, and they try to keep a check on whatever negativity may travel through that portal into our physical.
Mm,
Now, I've had instances where, a couple of times where an entity has traveled through that portal into the physical side during a
mm,
ghost box session, and I've turned the ghost box off and the door is slammed shut. Now they're stuck here until I turn on that ghost box again. You know what I
mhm,
mean? So,
mhm, mhm.
I started to actually get some activity in my home. An entity letting me know, hey, I'm here. And
So
when I turn,
do you feel like you're the conduit though,
well,
or just
my
the
anybody that's operating a ghost box,
mhm.
their physical energy is the energy that's exchanged in the
Okay.
transfer of communication. It's
Okay.
not like you could have 10 people in the room with you. If you're physically conducting that ghost box session, your energy is the one that's being emitted
Mhm,
through that
mhm.
ghost box to the other side. And it
Okay.
actually, your energy, the more you use a ghost box, like if you have a specific ghost box, the more you use that ghost box, and the
Okay.
more your energy flows through it, and the spiritual energy flows back through it,
Mhm.
it creates what I named years ago as imprinting. You
Okay.
actually imprint on a ghost box. And it
Okay.
actually, your imprinting, your energy signature actually acts as a beacon. When you turn that ghost box on, they know that you, Cynthia, or me, Bruce, are there and that we're ready to receive communication.
Okay.
So it's very important. There's a lot of nuances to ghost box communication that nobody
Mm.
even thinks about.
Okay.
And I've spent all these years developing, learning about them and researching it and gathering the information from my technicians, from entities on the other side. I get communication from Frank Sumption on a regular basis.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you go on my YouTube channel, I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's audio posted there
Yeah, I've
numerous
seen them.
times of,
I've listened to it.
communication with Frank.
Do you
And
think
he
you were assigned those spirit technicians though, that they've been with you for so long when you start a session? Do you think they were assigned to you?
That's a
Or
good
you were
question.
assigned to them?
That's a good question. At the
Yeah.
time we started, like I said, there was almost nobody in the world using a ghost box. So it was
Okay.
as brand new to them as it was to
Okay.
us. And
Okay.
whoever the powers that be are on the other side said,
Right.
hey, we better send a couple of people there, a couple of spirits to make sure that nothing bad happens here. We got
Let's
to.
see what this guy is doing, this guy in
Right,
Brooklyn. What is
right.
he
So
doing? Let's
I was actually told that by my technicians that, they
yeah.
actually started around the same time we did.
Oh,
So we
okay.
actually grew and learned together. Mike and Lisa, my permanent spirit technicians are very close friends, very close and dear friends. I think of them as I would think of, my brother or sister. You know what I mean? I
Let's
speak to them
answer
on a daily basis.
let's look at a couple of questions from chat. Bill W
Okay?
asked, and I love his avatar. When starting out, what kind of spirits are you normally attracting?
There's no set criteria for the type of spirit that you would attract, whether you're doing your first ghost box session or I'm
Mhm.
doing a session.
I know some
Um,
people believe there's levels up
Yeah, there
there.
is levels. There's definitely levels. There's definitely
Mhm.
levels.
Like
There's absolutely levels.
they can reach then certain levels we can't reach.
Exactly.
You
I
can't.
think that's in my book also. Um,
Okay.
there are different
Get the book,
spirit levels.
guys. Get the book. It's a
When an
good book.
entity crosses over,
Okay.
they go to I'm going to say for argument's sake a boot camp. They
Okay.
learn how to become spirits. They learn how to be a spirit. They learn like what it entails and what they're capable of and what they're
Mhm.
they become acclimated to being a spirit. That's in
Right.
the first level. Then you have once they start to gain experience and knowledge in spirituality, in the spirit world, they start to move up. And as that experience and knowledge grows, they move up levels at a time. I've learned that after the second level, an entity is no longer capable of sending communication from that level, but they can come back to the lower level if they wish to communicate. Now, an
Okay.
entity that's on the lower level cannot go higher unless they're sent to a higher level, but an
Okay.
entity that's at a higher level can visit a lower level and then go back.
So you
So,
don't know what you're gonna get, even if you're just starting out. And would
right.
you recommend that when
Now, I
people
don't
are
know whether
just
he
starting
meant,
out, you protect yourself a little bit?
oh, definitely. That's always, no matter what. That should
I
be,
mean
that
I
should
mean, I
be,
agree with that only because of my history of when I was younger and going from age 5 into my 20s and not knowing how to control it,
right.
all myriad of things that came through that I saw that came to me, and I finally learned how to close that door and only open it when I want to. And I'm thinking somebody just starting out might want to protect themselves a little bit. How would they
You're,
do that?
well, there's no, I mean, you can, in actuality, when someone says a protection prayer or a protection ritual before they attempt any spirit
Mhm.
contact or spirit interaction, what they're doing in essence is the what they say is not a spell. It's not a it's that's not what is
No,
protecting them.
no.
They're actually sending getting the attention of the entities on the other side
Mhm.
that they're going to attempt communicating with, and
Mhm.
letting them know I'm going
Mhm.
to attempt communication, so that
Right.
those entities, those protective entities, such as technicians,
Mhm.
will come and aid in protecting that individual.
I
That's
feel like when people say, like, let's say the arch Michael the Archangel protection prayer, it's affirming your belief.
yes,
And if you believe, like, I had to learn that I know that I am strong enough and I'm protected and good is on my side and nothing, I have no fear of it anymore, where I had a lot of fear when I was in my 20s because of things that were occurring, and I have no fear anymore. And I think if you say, Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, etc., you're affirming your belief that you are
right. You're reinforcing your
protected.
faith.
Your
Right.
own, you're reinforcing your own protective bubble, really.
Now,
I mean, in
when
my
you, in
opinion.
actuality, when you articulate that prayer
Mm,
to Michael the Archangel, in essence, what you're doing is you're calling out to him, so
of
he
course.
hears you and comes to your aid.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not like by saying a protection ritual, you're not putting. A lot of people have the misconception that a protection ritual envelops them in a cocoon of protection. That's
Mm,
not what happens. I mean, and believe me, like I said, everything that I'm saying now is not just my opinion off the top of my head. This I've asked, I've done in the last 17 years on every
mm.
sessions on every single subject. My assertions are based on information that
Okay.
was gleaned from entities on the other side and my observations and experience.
Nice.
That all put together is what gives me my opinions, and to state them the way I do.
Absolutely. I have another question. Do you think the sound changes after or before the sound leaves the speaker? Do you think the sound changes after or before? Oh, and so what I think they mean is that if you hear it coming through, let's say the radio, is the spirit altering it, like altering that sound. I know we use the radio, and I always say, spirits use the energy and the voices in this transmission to speak to me. Are
Right.
they actually molding the
Yes.
voices?
Yes.
I think they're piecing it together,
Well,
but
right.
are they
I'll give you
actually
I'll give you an
changing it?
example. This is explained in the book also. Just the way an entity delivers ghost box communication is the ghost box breaks down the incoming radio broadcast into small fragments of sound. That's initiated by the ghost box sweeping the radio band in a
Mhm.
fast enough pace to not allow any full words of radio broadcast to come through. It breaks it down into small, unintelligible pieces of sound. The
Mhm.
communicating entity will utilize those fragments of sound to piece together or build the words of communication that they need to send. Now,
Okay.
we think of it as, because we're physical human beings in uh, in a world that relies on our five senses,
Mhm.
we tend to attribute physical things to everything. You know what I mean?
Of
Like,
course.
everything
That's
needs to
our
be
frame of
tangible
reference.
to us.
Right.
So when an entity uses those sound fragments, they're not pulling that specific audible piece of sound from the ghost box sweep like a bunch of Legos and putting it together and sending it. It's all energy based. It's
Mhm.
all
Mhm.
energy based. They're actually using their energy to manipulate the sound fragments that are leaving the speaker of the ghost box to form the words that we need to hear, that they need to send. So
Okay.
in actuality, they are manipulating the sound fragments as they leave the speaker of the ghost box.
I've done ghost box sessions and then listened back, and I've had a couple that actually unnerved me because you can hear the messages coming through the radio, and then you hear a message come to me in the air, and it has to be using the energy, but it's not. It didn't come over the radio. And when it did happen to me at one point in one of my sessions, I recognized the voice, and the voice was a long lost family member who died 33 years ago. And if you see my video, you see me react because it was like a slap in the face. But he
Mhm.
didn't come out of the radio. I'm holding the radio right here, and
Right.
first he answered through the radio, and then he answered me over here, and
Okay. Would you want an
it
explanation
flipped
for
me
that?
out for 3 days.
I can explain that if you want.
Sure.
It's happened to me on numerous occasions. I mean, it's happened many times over the years.
Yeah,
It's clairaudience. What
it
happens
was
with a ghost
something.
box session is that open portal and that exchange of energy allows
Mhm.
an entity not only to manipulate the sound fragments with the ghost box to form
Mm,
communication, but there's also an open conduit that's directly connected to you,
yeah,
G wise, and they can actually reverberate communication over that energy link, which
yeah.
will allow you to hear it other than it
You
coming from the ghost box. It's not a
I heard
common
it.
thing.
You can hear it on the video. I heard it, and honestly, it affected me for 3 days
Yeah, yeah, it'll
very
do that.
strongly.
It's not a
It
common
flipped me
thing,
out a little bit.
but it does happen. It's very uncommon, it's very rare, but it does
Yeah.
happen.
I mean, yeah. Let me see now. Bill W said a couple of other things that I wanted to just bring up because I think I know what he's talking about. A documentary about a skull experiment. There was an Italian man that used a radio as a ghost box. I think I remember seeing video of this Italian man. And he had all
Mhm.
these people around him, and it was this big radio. And I'd have to look up the video again, but it was
I, his name escapes me at the moment. I
I
know
don't
exactly who he's
remember who
talking
he
about.
was, but I remember when I was doing, research for my Spiricom video, I
Right.
found this video, and it was interesting,
That
what he
individual
made.
used, it was not using, it was not, the method of that on which a ghost box works. It wasn't breaking down
No,
received.
no,
It worked on the basis of radio frequencies.
right.
It was different radio. Like there's actually Ron Yacovetti, tremendous researcher, has
Okay.
a
That
couple of
name is
books
in
out.
your book. That name
Right,
is in your book. Yep.
he wrote the forward for my book.
Mhm. That's
He
right, that's right.
Yeah, he's a top researcher in the ITC method of direct radio voice, which actually
Okay.
utilizes short high frequency short wave frequencies
Oh,
uh,
wow.
to deliver communication. that they use high range. In actuality, what he's using the spaces between the radio stations, the white noise between the radio
Yes,
stations, the
absolute
frequency
and I have
between,
gotten so many messages in the white noise.
right.
In the
And
white noise.
that's actually, you can actually hear it live in direct radio voice method. You can hear the communication live. You don't have to catch it on the record. You can hear it live the way you hear ghost box communication live. I mean, ghost
Yeah.
box communication offers um, a lot more communication than DRV,
Mm,
but Ron has brought it to the point where um, it was actually practiced in Europe for a long time and in Spain. And
okay.
Ron is the number one guy here in the United States for DRV. And
Okay.
he has brought it to a point where you can actually hear full sentences come through. I mean, he's actually broken the barrier. I mean, taking it to the next level. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
it's really an very intriguing, and very fascinating
Mhm.
method in ITC, which I myself was actually contemplating getting
Mhm.
into and trying, because I'm an old school guy, and my head is completely I'm completely loyal and completely focused on live spirit ghost box communication. That's my field of expertise. That's my chosen field. And to veer from that, uh, in my weird way, feels like sort of like I would be betraying that
Mm.
method. You know what I mean?
Right,
If I was
right,
to try,
right.
but DRV is the cousin of ghost box communication, and
And
it's actually
what does DRV stand for again?
direct radio voice. Direct
Okay.
radio. It doesn't entail any broadcast radio signal. It works solely on shortwave frequencies.
Okay.
And the only thing you hear during a DRV session would be white noise
White
and
noise.
the communication. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
So, I
Okay.
mean, I'm
And
going to definitely give it a try. I'm definitely going to give it a try.
okay. I
Okay.
did do one. I did do a white noise session. Oh, it was a while back now, and I got the whole. The whole session went on probably for about 25 minutes. I think maybe I got 4 messages, but I was happy to get those.
Yeah, really.
Life After Life says, "Am I right not to label communicators spirits? Rather, let them define themselves." I would imagine, yeah, that's probably
Well,
because
they
again,
pretty,
Mike and Lisa told you who they were,
yeah,
right?
they pretty much define. I mean, I think he's alluding to, um, are they benevolent or malevolent? Are they negative? Are they good? Are
Oh,
they,
okay.
uh,
I
we'll
like this
know.
one. It sounds like you agree with George Meek's theory of levels of existence. And I got into that pretty deeply when I was doing my Spiricon video. Yeah, that's
Yes,
some
I
interesting
do.
stuff.
I do subscribe to that theory. There
Yeah.
are some points in that theory that I don't agree with,
Mm.
but as far as the basis of the theory, it's sound as far as I'm concerned.
Do you know
But
I
the
found
can
out where that machine is? I, I know where that machine is.
it's actually
I know who has it.
do you know who have it?
They
I
won't
know
sell
somebody,
it. They won't sell
has it.
it.
I know somebody has it.
Yeah, I know
Um,
who it is. I've corresponded with them, but
well, let me tell you
they
something.
they have it tucked away.
Yeah, if that Spiricom device actually worked the way it was
Yeah,
portrayed to work, it would
which
be amazing. You know what I mean? But
would
there's so much controversy surrounding that. It's, you
I
know,
know. My husband
it's,
was like, "Let's buy it. Let's buy it. It doesn't matter. Let's
it's
buy it."
probably priceless.
They
It's probably
they
priceless.
they won't sell it. They won't
Yeah.
sell it. Um,
It's this gentleman's original question
mhm.
about the entities identifying themselves.
Mhm.
Um, if you can you elaborate on whether you meant will a negative or benevolent entity define themselves as being such, or do you mean will they define themselves as being a certain person or a certain, you know, having a certain existence? You know, you
Well,
have to let me know what you mean, and I can answer your
okay.
question.
Now
Yeah,
they've
what's the
come
next question?
they had a few things. Is there a difference in results from recording the speaker or feeding it directly to a streaming computer?
That's a
You
good
mean
question. Let me think
directly
about that one.
feeding, and I think
Well,
he also came up with the name of the Italian man,
oh yeah, Marcello Bacci, right? Yeah, that was right on the tip of
Marcello.
my toe. Um, as far as to answer your question about the speakers, uh, in my experience, um, if you feed the ghost box right into a computer, if you put it into the audio input jack of a computer, the
Mhm.
computer is actually acting as the speaker for the ghost box. All you're doing,
Mhm.
all you're utilizing as far as the computer goes is you're recording it directly onto the computer as opposed to recording it onto a handheld voice recorder, say.
So it shouldn't be much different, right?
Well, it should. I like using a voice recorder for the simple reason that, in my opinion, a handheld voice recorder gives you nuances um, that nothing else can. It actually allows you, and there's a spot in my book where I mention this. You can actually capture traditional EVPs during
Mhm.
a ghost box session. You know, it gives you the ambient sounds that are around your recording area.
Yeah.
The electromagnetic energy is picked up by a handheld voice recorder. Uh, it, it
Right.
it actually uh, allows more fodder for communication.
That's
So
true. If you hook it right to your computer, you will lose anything
right,
that,
not only
like
that,
what
you're
I
no
s like
longer
what I said when I had the voice, he came through the radio and then he was here,
right,
not through the radio. You wouldn't have heard that if I was plugged in
right.
directly to a
The
computer.
computer also, if I'm not
Gotcha.
mistaken, and I'm not really that computer savvy as far as the technological end goes. I don't know if a computer incorporates automatic audio filters for incoming.
Mm.
I don't know if it has noise
Depends on
cancellation
how you
features.
yeah, it depends on how you've set it up,
And
you
any
know?
audio feature used, especially noise cancellation, like
Mhm.
when you're reviewing a ghost box recording and you're editing it,
Right,
never use a noise reduction filter or a hiss removal filter. It will distort your whole recording.
right.
So, any audio filters will tend to distort the original audio. So, I would, if you have a voice recorder, a handheld voice recorder, use that. You know what I mean? As opposed to plugging it into your computer. Better safe than sorry. Next.
Okay. I stopped calling out to spirits or label them as such as we don't call each other hello fellow humans. Okay. I think I know what they mean. I mean often
Don't
when I
refer to them in a general sense as spirits. Is
right,
that what he means?
right. I mean I
Yeah.
I often start my sessions and as hello spirits, but I see what you mean.
See, if you it there's I mean that's not it's not a touchy area. It's actually how would you put it? It's actually a courtesy thing. Like
I get it.
you would not like when I start out a session, the first thing I do is call out to my spirit technicians, greet them, thank them for being there, thank them for their help. And then I ask them, Mike, Lisa, are there any entities on that
Mhm.
side that wish to communicate? Now,
Okay.
if an entity comes forward to communicate, I'll ask before their communication, before I start to get into communicating with them, I'll ask them, I'll say, can the communicating entity please tell me your name so I know how to address you? See, it's all a
Okay.
matter of respect and consideration, because you
Right.
got to remember, if we're predominantly, and I'm not saying we're only, if we're predominantly communicating with the spirits of disembodied human beings,
Mhm.
then they definitely, and I know this for, I mean, I've gotten information on this for as forever.
Mhm.
They carry all the emotions, their sense of humor, their ideas, their thoughts, their memories, their emotions. Everything crosses over with you. None of it is left
Okay.
behind. So the way you would treat, if someone called you on the phone, you wouldn't say, like, hey, how you doing, so and so, you would give someone the common respect of addressing them by name, or
Right.
any
Right.
common respect that you would give another physical human being you came in contact and interacted with. You should give
Mhm.
to an entity that you're communicating with.
Okay. Um, so let me see what other questions I
We've
have. If
run through all
anybody
your
else has anybody have any more questions? Life After Life said, I've done studies on Marcello Bacci's work on DRV with a science teacher, which was really interesting. And I was 16 at the time. That's very cool. And then they're mentioning Annabella Cordos does great
Yes,
work as
she's
well.
the mother of DRV. She's actually the matriarch of DRV.
Oh, okay. That's a name I didn't know. And I wanted to say hi to Sandy and David and Parasolo. Thank you for being here, and thank you all for being here. I Let me see if I have any more questions for you. And I really did enjoy the book, guys. I definitely recommend getting this book or getting it on your Kindle. The last the last
Did you
question. Well,
did
go
you
ahead.
happen to get to the part of the book pets that cross over?
I don't know that I've gotten that part, that I read that part. What about pets?
That's a good chapter. Read that chapter.
Okay.
I had a
I will definitely read that chapter.
Actually, if
I
you
will
go
definitely.
on if you go on like my YouTube channel or whatever, and you go through the videos that are there of communication,
Okay.
there's numerous communication. I lost my dog of 16 years 2 years ago,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
I receive communication on a regular basis from my spirit technicians that he's with them, at that time that they're
Oh,
communicating with me,
that's
and they
awesome.
they tell me how he's doing and how our
Wow.
pets do cross over. But the chapter that I'm referring to in the book at the end
Mhm.
is a little bit of a tearjerker.
Oh,
So
no.
yeah,
Uh-oh.
so that's
Okay.
why I asked if you
Oh,
read it.
it's
I'm
right
hoping to
near
see
the end.
what
Okay,
your
I
thought
see
was.
it. Are there animals in the spirit world? Okay. And so and then the last chapter is contacting and communicating with a specific spirit entity. Is it possible? And I know that a lot of people often ask those of us that do these sessions to contact a specific person, and I always tell them that I can try, but if I can't contact them, that perhaps I can contact another spirit who
Right,
knows about them,
right.
and it might take more than one session to
Well, see,
get through to them, if possible at all.
that's where your technicians come in. Part of their job is to facilitate finding that specific individual and, if
Mhm.
possible, bringing them forward to communicate. I
If it's
do
possible.
sessions for people all the time. I get 10 messages a day with session requests,
Mm,
and I hate to turn anybody down. So I'm constantly doing specific contact sessions for people.
yeah.
And some of them, I mean, I could, show you, I could send you audio, and from some of them that are really unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
really unbelievable. You know what I mean? Where they
Yeah.
mention, specific thing. Like, and when I do a private session for somebody, a contact session, I I make sure that they don't send me any
Yes.
information,
Yeah.
any answers to
Yeah.
the questions that they're going to ask, or anything pertaining to those questions. When I
Nothing.
send
Nothing.
them the audio that comes from the session,
Mm.
I've had people actually not just message me, call me, physically phone call me on the phone in tears. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Knowing that they say
Mm.
there's no doubt in my mind that that was the
Yeah.
person, and it's definitely possible. It's probable. I mean, I have family members that come through all the time just on the fly. Like, I don't
Yeah.
even ask for them, and they come through. They interrupt, actually. They
Right.
whenever they're there, I guess they feel
Mm.
that because they're family members, they have the right to interrupt. They come right through.
Yes, I mean, that is how it happens. I've had when I have real, I wanna say physical spirit contact, the way I see them, it's as if I'm seeing them, but they're, like, right here, and it's
Right,
yeah, it's
right.
very, but especially if you hear them, like that session I'm talking to you that I told you about before, it hits you. It really moves you. It's just so many different experiences.
I've had
Um,
an entity that was in my home for about a year.
really? And who was
An
it?
entity named Tom. His name was Tom. He was just
And
an individual that had come through the portal and
mhm.
didn't want to go back,
Yeah.
wanted to hang around. Matter of
Hang
fact,
out.
I'll show
I
you.
like it here.
You see
I
this
like
here?
it here.
See this?
Yeah.
That's Tom. Somebody had given me this, and I named it Tom because he was here. And if my one of the videos on my YouTube channel, I
Mhm.
actually picked that up during a session and asked Tom if he could see it. I said, Tom, can you see what I'm holding in my hand? I mean, if you're here with me now, what am I holding in my hand? And he says, a ghost, right? And I say to him, the next thing he says to me is, I know you call it Tom. You know what I mean? So, and
That's so
that you can
funny.
actually go watch the video. The
I
communication
will.
is there in the
I
video.
will. I will. I will. I will. So
What other
here's
questions did you have? I know you had a list of questions there.
okay. But I have this one, the last one here from Life After Life. I avoid personal sessions, although I do get asked along with Michael Jackson and celebs, but I can't do it if I don't fully believe in it, and it can be controversial. And that's true. I think there's a lot of people that do sessions for, let's say, celebrity that just passed, or I mean, I wouldn't even want to do a session for a personal non-celebrity who had just passed, you know.
Right.
Um but yeah, I mean that can be iffy. And also you have to always couch it because there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that that person is going to come through. So the
Right.
last question, next to last question I have for you is, what do you think of what I kindly call paranormal entertainment? I mean, we all know I have a YouTube channel. Obviously, you have a YouTube channel. We see all these YouTube paranormal YouTube channels out there blow up because, and you know, people say to me, "Oh, your channel, that's so great." I'm like, "Yeah, it's just a little channel. It's not a big deal." I said, because I don't want to, you know, see a demon around every corner.
And
What
I
do you
know who
think
you're
of all that?
referring to. I know who you're referring to when you do
Well,
that.
there's a couple, but
Um,
what do you think of all
are
that
you asking about
in
individuals
general?
with YouTube channels, or are you asking about professional TV shows?
YouTube channels, because I totally understand why they do it for TV.
Okay, I believe that there's a lot of people out there, which my main goal now is to um, put out the correct information, to put out the knowledge, to try and help people to gain knowledge and experience, to have them go about things the right way. That's,
Right.
I'm trying to share everything that I've learned and all the
Mhm.
experience that I have with anyone and everyone that'll accept it, because there's a lot of people out there that just have, I mean, they're introduced into the paranormal, for whatever reason they had an interest in it, and their first introduction is a Google search on paranormal ghost hunt, paranormal investigating. They get
Yeah.
themselves, they have their cell phone, they get themselves, an EMF detector, a temperature, and they run out to the first cemetery or abandoned location they can find, and they start emanating what they've come across on the internet. You know what I mean? Without any
Mm,
basic knowledge or any structure to what they're doing.
right.
Um, there's a lot of people out there that are not they're not purposely perpetrating frauds or trying to uh, do things the wrong way. They just don't
Mm,
have the knowledge that they need to
right.
perform paranormal investigation or research correctly.
Right.
And
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
it's sad.
in truth, the real investigating can be very boring.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
it's not exciting. It's not exciting
Absolutely.
until you have
Absolutely.
36 hours of
Yeah.
audio and video that
Right.
take you 4 weeks to go through, and you
Right.
find 5 things, and
See, a
then you
lot of
put
people
those
also are
5
not
things
willing to do
out.
that. A lot of people are
Right.
not willing to do that. See, the worst thing that could have happened was video cameras on a cell phone. Because, and I speak about that in the book also.
Yeah.
If you do, I mean, you want to video your ghost box session, or you want to video your investigation, or whatever evidence
Right.
gathering you're doing at that time. That's all well and good. but don't. And I'm pretty sure there's a whole section of it in the book. You know, uh, matter of fact, I know there is because it's a touching point with me. If you're gonna always listen, it's 20, $30. Get yourself a digital voice recorder. If you're gonna turn on your cell phone, turn that digital voice recorder on. Leave it on the side. Let it record everything that's happening in your ghost box session or your
Right.
EVP session or your whatever you're doing at the time.
Right.
These when you videotape with your phone a ghost box session, whether it be on location, in your home, wherever, and then you look back at it, you replay it and watch it again. In essence, all you're doing is rehearing what you originally heard. You know what I mean? You may be able to catch one or two more things than you caught live at the time the session was done, but it's not
Mhm.
going to be like going over an audio recording a piece at a time and
Yeah.
actually finding the communication that's there. You're in
Yeah.
essence with a video, you're just doing the same thing that you did. You're
Right.
hearing the same thing in the same speed and the same way that you heard it the first time.
So a
You know what I mean?
really
So
basic digital recorder, I think, is key. It's just
key,
key.
key.
Just key, because you'll be Ray. Here's Ray. Ray has a
Hey,
question.
Ray,
Here's
you made it, Ray.
Ray. Are you working, Ray? There he is. Did the publisher contact you for the book, or did you self-publish it? I think that's what he's asking. And hello, Ray.
No, I did not self-publish. I was published by an established publishing company. One of the reasons I didn't write the book up until this point was because I did not want to self-publish.
Hmm.
I think anybody can write anything they want, and if they self-publish it and just throw it out there, it's
Yeah.
not. I mean, I wanted my book to be a book. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I wanted it to be a book that was published by a publishing company that had some
right.
credibility behind it, that had, that a publishing company thought the book was good enough to publish and good enough to put out there. And I'm going to drop a bombshell for you now, Cynthia, on your
Mhm.
show. I'm 3/4 of the way through my second book
Oh,
right now.
awesome.
So
Very
in the
nice.
next couple of months, that book should be coming out. And it's not another technical, it's not another book on the same vein as When Spirits Speak. When
Okay.
Spirits Speak was meant to be an explanatory guide to ghost box communication.
Which it
This
is.
book is about ghost box communication, but in a completely different way.
Oh,
And it's
awesome.
going to blow you away when you read it. Okay?
Wow, well, maybe when I find my goal is to have mine done very soon. Maybe, do you have an editor I can use to check it out, and
Oh, I'll
maybe I
send you
can.
the name of the publishing company. They'll definitely get in touch with you. They'll definitely they're great.
Thank
They're
you.
great. They'll get in
I
touch
would
with you, and
appreciate it.
you send them a synopsis of your book, and what your idea is about and everything, and they'll go over it. And if they're interested, they'll write you up a contract. You know?
I would appreciate if you would do that. I would
Yeah,
appreciate that a
definitely,
lot.
definitely.
All right, so last question is, what's next for you? Your second book, I guess you just told us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now see, my publisher actually called me after the first book came out, and he
Mhm.
said, he said, listen, you're not finished. So I said, well, he says, you just keep writing. I said, well, I got the second book. I got the idea for the second book already. I'm going to start working. He says, oh, no, no. He says, you're going to just keep going. He says, the second, the third, the fourth, you just keep going. So right
That's
now,
awesome.
writing is becoming a big part because, I don't have to tell you, it's a very time consuming thing.
Oh,
So
if I could find the time.
yeah, it's something that, takes up a lot of, and that
Here's mine so far. Here it is.
that
Trying to
combined
finish
with
it.
my ghost box research and like you just mentioned, going over ghost box recordings is no easy task.
No.
So that combined with writing and everything, I'm pretty much my time slot, my dance card is pretty full.
But are you
So
retired? Are you retired?
well, I was a 9/11 rescue worker, and
So,
I got hurt at Ground Zero. I got sick
um,
from being at Ground Zero,
I'm
and
sorry to hear
the
that.
government put me on full disability in 2004.
Yeah.
So I have a lot
Wow.
of time on my hands to write and to do ghost box research. So
Well, I mean, sorry for the reason I lost my cousin that day, but glad that you are made it out, and
thank
um,
you.
nice that you have the time. That's awesome.
Yeah, Thanks. Thanks.
But I am trying to finish mine. And if you would send me that information, I would
Yes, I
really
definitely will. I
appreciate it.
definitely,
That would
absolutely
be because
will.
I'm also writing another piece, but it's a paranormal horror story. It's a piece of fiction. So that's awesome. That's
Well,
awesome.
I'll give you a little taste of my second book. The
Okay.
book is going to be a fact slash fiction.
Okay.
It's going to tell the story of two locations,
Mm-hmm.
two separate locations. It's going to give all the factual information that we know about those two locations and tell the reported stories, the reported
Cool.
the reports that came from those two locations. But
Okay.
then the book looks at what it would have been like if if those locations were investigated with a ghost box, and
Okay.
that's where the fiction comes in, and it's a
Cool.
whole. I mean, the book so far it's about, well, I'm up to the 18th chapter already in
Very
the
nice.
book. So it each one, one location takes up the first half of the book, and the second location, of course, will take up the second half of the book. But it's
Very
only two
cool.
locations. Both of them celebrated haunted locations that we all
Nice.
know.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome. I can't wait to read it. Can't wait to read it. Well, thank you so much for coming. Guys, here's the book. Again, When Spirits Speak by Bruce Halliday. The link
guys, get
is
out there,
in the
get a copy.
description. Get a
I mean, I'm
copy
not
of
just
this
saying.
book. You will enjoy it.
I don't
It's
want
a
to tell
great
you, I'm not
reference.
saying go out and grab a copy because I want the money. Go out, I mean, the book is really, it's like I said,
You will
almost two
enjoy it.
decades of my knowledge and experience. Everything I've learned and experienced over the years with live spirit ghost box communication is packed into this book.
Yep,
And,
it is great.
it's worth the price. It's actually worth more than what they're charging for it. I mean, there's nothing around like it.
It's
And
great.
if you're interested in live spirit communication, if you're interested in ghost box communication, or you use a ghost box in field investigations,
Yep.
or however you use one, pick the book up. You'll be able to use it for years and years to come.
Right.
It's not a book you're going to read and put back on the bookshelf. You're going to refer back to it time and time again. So,
Yep.
Cynthia, thank you
Definitely.
so much, hon. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody who joined us tonight, and anybody watching back later on. Please check out Bruce's YouTube channel as well. And I will make sure to put all his links in the description when I'm done here for his YouTube
Yeah,
channel and his
yeah,
Facebook
yeah,
group.
right.
I will. No fee of little faith. But thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful night. We'll see you next time. And thanks again, Bruce.
Thank you very much. Bye bye, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night.